Let me just readjust myself a little bit here. Okay, what's going on, YouTube? It's Unger to the Max here. Salute to you, and happy game day. This week it is Browns, your Cleveland Browns, taking on the Baltimore Ravens at M&T Bank Stadium. Now, before I get to my thoughts on this game, I'm feeling a little superstitious. Let me explain why. Hold on one second. Yeah, like I said, I am feeling superstitious. So you probably don't know this about me. I would consider myself to be a superstitious person. So when I drive by a graveyard, I tend to hold my breath. And also, 13 is not one of my favorite numbers. That being said, there is a particular brown shirt that I consider to be superstitious. And it's this one. Right here. Okay? And that's because every time I've worn that brown shirt, the Browns have won. But I'm going to try an experiment for today's game against the Baltimore Ravens. For the first half, I'm going to wear this shirt, the one that I'm wearing right now, and see how it goes. And for the second half, if I'm still here, because I'm going out with friends tonight, so I might not be able to do the second half, but anyway. So if I'm able to, for the second half, I'll put on my superstitious brown shirt and see what happens. In addition, I'm also going to be testing another superstition today. Because up to this point, every time I've done a YouTube game preview with another YouTuber, the Browns have won. Starting with Week 3 against Gangrene David of the New York Jets for Thursday Night Football, Jets at Browns. Then Week 5 with Engraven Bids for Ravens at Browns. And finally, Week 10, a call-in from Sports Live in the ATL for Falcons at Browns. But the common thread with all those games is that the Browns were at home at First Energy Stadium. This week, I did a preview video with Engraven Bids and other YouTubers, Narome, AK, Ivan Vids, and NinerJ49. For this week's Browns game against the Ravens. But this game is in Baltimore. So let's see if this superstition holds true as well. So that's why I'm feeling superstitious. So I want to see if those two superstitions hold true. So we're about approximately 15 minutes away from kickoff at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore between the Browns and Ravens. As you can see, I am not there. As much as I want to be, I am not. But I said this in the chat with the Ravens fans the other day. If there's one team in the AFC North that I respect more than any other, it is the Baltimore Ravens. The reason I just feel like they've done it the right way. They produced a Hall of Famer in Ray Lewis, a soon-to-be Hall of Famer in Ed Reed, maybe a Hall of Famer in Terrell Suggs. Just those, I can think of those three right off the bat. And, Browns fans might be going, what the heck? How can you respect the Ravens the most in this division with Art Modell? With Art Modell moving the team from Cleveland to Baltimore in 1995. Guess what? I was born in 97. So that's 2 years prior. So to me, it doesn't really matter. I'm basing what I'm saying off of what I've seen. And from what I've seen, I have the most respect for the Ravens. Partially because yes, they have a tough physical defense and they hit hard, but you know what? That's a respectable style, and that's how they play. How can you look at what it happened when that type of defense met an amazing offense in Super Bowl 48? The Broncos had a record-setting offense. The Seattle Seahawks had one of the best defenses in the NFL, if not the best defense that year. And guess what? Defense won 43-8 to be exact. So, I mean, offense can win games, but defense wins championships. So, I am going to say that Baltimore is going to win this game, and they will be AFC North champions. Ravens are going to win 27-24. And all Baltimore needs to do to win the AFC North is beat us. Or have Pittsburgh somehow miraculously lose to Cincinnati. Which, if Pittsburgh finds a way to lose to Cincinnati, I will laugh my butt off. Because Cincinnati doesn't have A.J. Green, they don't have Tyler Boyd, and they don't have Andy Dalton. If Pittsburgh loses to Cincinnati, I don't know how they'll be able to wake up the next day. Seriously. I don't know. But we're just about 10 minutes away, and I think I might try and go all the way up to kickoff. But so the last time these two teams met was in Week 5 in Cleveland, and the Browns won that game 12-9 in overtime. It was a classic AFC North battle, low-scoring defensive battle, which I don't totally understand why the Ravens are in the AFC North. Is it only because Art Modell moved them from Cleveland to Baltimore, and it just made sense for them to stay in the AFC North? I bet that's why, and I'm not saying I don't like it, but it just doesn't make sense to me. You see, for me, I think, but here's the one that really doesn't make sense. Are the Indianapolis Colts in the AFC South? Last time I checked, Indianapolis is not in the South. So, why? I say move the Colts to the AFC North, move the Ravens to the AFC East, and you move the Dolphins to the AFC South. I think that makes sense. But the NFL obviously probably will never do that. But the last time these two teams played was Week 5 in Cleveland, and like I said, the Browns won 12-9 on a game-winning field goal by Greg Joseph that, honestly, I thought he missed at first. It barely went over the crossbar at the bottom. Seriously, it barely went over. Looking back, I'm still stunned he actually made the field goal kick. Seriously. But these two teams are very different since then. First off, Joe Flacco was the starting quarterback for the Ravens. He's not the starting quarterback anymore. It's Lamar Jackson. Secondly, Hugh Jackson and Todd Haley were the head coach and the offensive coordinator for the Browns. They're not with the Browns anymore. Todd Haley's still looking for a job, and Hugh Jackson is now with the Cincinnati Bengals. Or should I say Cincinnati Bungles? Because I would say the Bengals are the dirtiest team in the AFC North, especially Vontaze Burfict. He's gotten so many fines and so many penalties. I don't know why he's still in the NFL. I don't know. At least the Steelers, they play tough, but they don't, go out looking to kill you. Sometimes I think the Bengals do that. They play a little bit on the dirty side. So, I don't have any respect for the Cincinnati Bengals. Like I said, the team I respect the most in this division are the Baltimore Ravens, today's opponent. So we'll see if the superstition holds true that I discussed in the beginning, as we are just about 10 minutes away from kickoff. But Baltimore doesn't really pass the ball at all. If you look at their offense, it's all about running the ball with Lamar Jackson and Gus Edwards. And I was saying this with the Ravens fans on our talk the other night, previewing this game and discussing other various NFL topics. Maybe the Ravens run Lamar Jackson a little too much. I think they need to open up their passing game a little bit more, and that's on the offensive coordinator. It's not originally I had said that it was that Lamar Jackson wasn't willing to pass the ball, but looking back, I wish I could take that statement back, and instead what I would say is it seems like the Ravens aren't willing to let him pass the ball. They don't they're not willing. It doesn't seem like they want to open the playbook and allow him to pass. But think about this. He won the Heisman Trophy for God's sakes. You don't win the Heisman Trophy by just being a running quarterback. That's not how it works. Like, you just don't. And Lamar Jackson showed that he can pass the ball. Look at the pass he threw to Mark Andrews right after the Chargers had taken the lead. He comes back and throws a nice 60, I think it was like a 60-yard pass to Mark Andrews for the touchdown. But it's all about slowing down that Ravens running. I almost said slowing down the Ravens passing game. No, it's all about slowing down the Ravens running game. The Browns need to somehow force Lamar Jackson to be more of a passing quarterback rather than a running quarterback. Because if you allow him to run on you, it's going to be a long day for your defense. Seriously, it's going to be a very long day. So if the Browns blitz, which I would advise them not to, but if they do, you have got to stay in your lane. You can't get as a pass rusher, you can't get past Lamar Jackson. Otherwise, he's just going to be like, bye, and just take off running the other way. And if he gets to that second level of defense, you're going to have problems. I mean, before Colin Kaepernick got into his whole taking a knee in the NFL during the national anthem, you saw it's very hard to bring down a running quarterback once they get to the second and third level of the defense. It's very difficult. So the Browns have to make sure when they rush the quarterback, they don't get past Lamar Jackson and just give him a wide open lane. You can't do that. Otherwise, it's going to be a long day for you. Honestly, it will be. So the Browns, it's going to be a tough day for Baker Mayfield. He's probably going to throw at least 2 interceptions, I think, because he's facing the number one defense on the road. And the last time he faced a really good defense on the road, he struggled. And no offense to the Denver Broncos. I mean, you have a really good tandem up front with Von Miller and Bradley Chubb. But I want to go back to when we played the Texans in Houston. He struggled that game. Got intercepted like 4 or 5 times. The Browns Browns offensive line couldn't handle the pass rush of the Texans with J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless, and Jadeveon Clowney. And even though the Ravens don't have that type of defensive line, their defense is smothering. They do not give you big plays down the field. So the Browns are going to have to fight and scratch for every single yard they get. It's going to be... I wouldn't be surprised if the score is lower than 27-24. But I think it's going to start out as a defensive battle, but I think the offenses might get going late in the second quarter, early second half. But the Browns need to somehow figure out how to run the ball. these two teams, I would say, run the ball for very different reasons. The Ravens, they want to run the ball to chew up clock and give your offense less possessions so you can't score. Whereas the Browns, we run the ball more to set up our passing game. That's what we use Nick Chubb and Duke Johnson for. But it's all on our defense. Can we slow down the Ravens' run game and force Lamar Jackson to pass it at all? And if he beats us with his passing game, credit to him. I mean, that's why he won the Heisman. But we can't let him beat us with his legs. That's how he's done so well in the NFL so far. You can't let him win with his legs. So again, I'm sorry, Browns fans, but the Ravens are going to win this game 27-24, and my superstitious experiment starts now. And I'll read it one more time. One more time. So, like I said, I'll read it one more time. So, you might not know this about me, but I would consider myself to be a superstitious person. So when I drive by a graveyard, I tend to hold my breath. And also, 13 is not one of my favorite numbers. That being said, there is a particular brown shirt. This one right here. I'll hold it up for the camera. That I do consider to be superstitious, because every time I've worn it, the Browns have won. But I'm going to try an experiment for today's game against the Ravens in Baltimore. For the first half, I'm going to be wearing a different shirt and see how it goes. This is the shirt I'll be wearing for the first half. And then for the second half, if I'm still here, because I'm going out with friends tonight, so if I'm able to, this is the shirt I'll change into. And then see what happens. I'm also testing another superstition today, because up to this point, I've done a YouTube game preview with every time I've done a YouTube game preview with another YouTuber, the Browns have won. Starting with week 3 against Gangrene David for Thursday Night Football, Jets at Browns. And the Browns won. Then week 5 with Engraven Vids for Ravens at Browns, and the Browns won. And then finally, week 10, a call-in from Sports Live in the ATL for Falcons at Browns, and the Browns won. But the common thread with all those games is that the Browns were at home at First Energy Stadium. Excuse me. This week, I did a preview video with Engraven Bids and Narome, AK, Ivan Bids, and Niner J49, who actually is a San Francisco 49ers fan, for this week's Browns game against the Ravens. But it's in Baltimore at M&T Bank Stadium. So let's see if this superstition holds true as well. So I'm very excited to see if both of these superstitions hold true. And like I said, I'm a superstitious person, so let's see. But my score prediction again, Ravens 27, Browns 24. Ravens are your 2018 AFC North champions, and they get the 4 seed. So that's going to do it for this video. Until next time, this is Unger to the Max, signing off with a salute.